Welcome to the series entitled Home. There is no place like home. Sweet, sweet home. Where is my home? This is our first question. Where is the home of the human beings? We feel as if it is not here. And yesterday we discussed why we feel is not here. And it must be somewhere or something deeper than just this physical reality. We understand ourselves as being souls and not the physical appearance, the body. The body is constantly changing and it will have an end, whilst the soul is immortal, eternal, and it is not physical, it is incorporeal, it is subtle, it cannot be seen with these eyes. All these concepts can be a little bit abstract, and people can ask, how can we have the proof that we are souls? How do you have the proof that you are not souls, we can ask. Who has made it such a rule, such a common default thinking that we are not souls? We should at least explore the consequences of believing that we are souls. And if that consequences of believing that we are souls and understanding that we are souls are of a good nature, if they can bring us happiness and well-being and prosperity for the entire human society, then at least we should explore and understand this option. We are looking again at what our traditions are saying about the home. There is almost nothing in our scriptures or in our traditions about what home could be. There is a lot about heaven. Is heaven our home? Is heaven the place where we are returning and where we belong? Let us understand a little bit more what heaven is. In the Christian tradition, they mention heaven as being something up above. God is looking from heaven down on earth. God is calling some of the souls, come up here, as if the place where God lives is up there. And they call that place heaven. And they also are mentioning that Jesus or Christ were rising up and God is coming down, or Jesus is coming down. So in Christianity, there is this reference to paradise, to heaven, as being somewhere higher, as being holy, divine, the place for those who have a very high faith, for those who have high virtues. The same kind of understanding is in other traditions. For instance, in Mesopotamia, in the big epic of Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh himself is saying, oh, my friend, we cannot really get to that heaven that is a place only of gods. There are various traditions in the Middle East where there is an understanding that God and heaven are not accessible to human beings. That is a place where only gods and deities can live, and no human being can get there. It's a big question of what is the role or the place of such a world, heaven, if no one can get there, or what are the criteria to be able to go to that place that they call heaven. There are then other traditions, like the Chinese tradition, in a very interesting way. In China, they consider heaven as being the ruler of everything. Heaven has created the autumn and the spring and the winter and the summer, and heaven has created what we see now on this earth, the rivers and the oceans, on the hills and the mountains. How exactly is that possible? There must be a reference to something that is higher and that may be different from heaven, something that has an impact on the physical world, that may have had an impact on the way we are living here. We can see that this physical world is rather eternal than created. Who could have created all the rivers and the mountains and the hills and the human beings? In one understanding, which is more our understanding, is that this play, this field of action, which is a planet Earth, and everything that belongs here, it may actually be eternal. But still, in some traditions, they feel that what they call heaven may have an impact on what is happening here. And we have this understanding as well that there is something higher than the planet Earth. When we look at this image, we see the planet Earth, we see then something that is a higher sky, and beyond that higher sky, it is as if something that they call heaven, or we can call home. However, in all these traditions, they feel that that home, that heaven, must be beyond the sky. There is a sky, and in that sky there are the galaxies, and there are the stars and the sun and the moon, and beyond all of that must be the heavenly God the Father, or heaven, or home. And there are some traditions such as Islam and Hebrew tradition, which may feel that there are heavens in 6 or 7 skies. And the higher you go, the higher that experience of a higher heaven. And they feel that our galaxies and our stars can belong to this first heaven. And after that, there will be the 6th heaven and the 7th heaven. And the science has to discover that heavens in the sky. We can inquire, is that so? Is that truly that heaven or that home a continuation of the physical world? In that case, we see that sky above myself, that sky, should we now try to fly up in that sky, and eventually we will bump into a heaven or a home where God resides? Is that the case? Is it possible for this physical dimension to change and to continue in a natural way with a heaven or a home? When someone understands that the material world, matter, is completely distinct from the spiritual realm, from the spiritual reality then we can question whether this physical world can ever lead us to heaven or to home. So that image that we have just seen, showing that first there is a planet, a material world, and then there is some sky, and after that sky there is a world that is spiritual, a world that some can call heaven and some can call home. We understand that that is just a subtle representation. That is an approximation. That is not real. That is just an image that is trying to explain the best we can. And what do we try to explain the best we can? We try to explain that the moment that we start to detach ourselves from the physical reality, from the matter, from what is material and what is gross, from what we see, we hear, we touch, we smell, and we taste. When we start to detach from what we perceive through the sense organs, it is as if we are going further and further and further away from all this physical and human world. And the further away we go, the less significant it appears to us. And the less significant it appears to me, the less important it will be, and the smaller it will be in my awareness. And this is why we represent our physical world as becoming small and distant. We are inserting this factor of distance. That is what sky means. The heavenly sky means not a physical distance, not a physical distance from the planet Earth. It is not that if we are flying now in that sky, we're going to find heaven and God sitting there on the sky. No, it means we are applying a mental distance in our awareness. We learn to detach ourselves from this physical material reality. And we detach to such an extent, we go so far in our mind with our intellect, to such an extent that we feel as if the planet and the human world become so small, like a mustard seed, so small, almost invisible. And it is in that awareness of complete detachment from the body, detachment from the physical senses and what we perceive through the physical senses, it is in that awareness that we are able to take a leap of faith and to experience our home. Our home is a reality, is a domain of awareness and of being that requires a leap of faith. We are taking this leap of faith to let go of the material world, to let go of this corporeal reality and take a jump into our home, a jump to the place where we belong. And that place is incorporeal. It is invisible for the physical eye. It is subtle. It is not heaven. So let us clarify in the next few minutes this huge distinction between home and heaven. There is such a big confusion between what is called heaven in all the spiritual traditions. Heaven seems to be very popular. Everyone is referring to heaven. And it is actually a big confusion between heaven and home. Spiritual traditions are referring to both as if they are the same. And that is nothing more confusing to us. And we are as if preserving, maintaining that confusion. No one has that clarity, no one has that power, that understanding that the home and heaven are two completely distinct worlds, and they both exist, and they are both wonderful, and they may have the right to be in both. We definitely have a right to be in the home, but we may also have a right to be in heaven, but they are completely separate. Let us clarify this once for all, hopefully, that heaven and home are two distinct worlds. And we have started yesterday discussing that our home is a place that is not corporeal. And our home is a place where the stars, the souls are residing. And our home is a place that is invisible for the physical eye, but it can be experienced with the divine intellect. So the home is a place that is eternal. Is a place where all souls are residing, and is a place where God is dwelling. God lives in the home. Now, just to make this comparison with what heaven is a place on earth. So heaven implies human beings. Heaven implies a garden, a place of complete happiness. Heaven is a corporeal place. And that is the main distinction between home and heaven. Heaven is on the physical reality. It is corporeal. It implies human bodies living on this planet. Heaven, paradise, means human beings that are in complete happiness. They are living in a perfect society. There is happiness, there is harmony, there is pure love, there is perfection in every act, there is complete detachment from anything that you are calling I and mine in today's world. There is complete awareness of being souls. Heaven is characterized by being aware that they are souls, that they are eternal beings. When human beings realize that they are souls, that they are eternal, that they are divine, then is paradise on earth. It is heaven. So heaven is corporeal, whilst home is incorporeal. And home is invisible, whilst heaven is perceived through the physical organs. Heaven is a world of human beings with a very high elevated character. Home, if we look back at this contrast, at this comparison between home and heaven, home is incorporeal. Home is including the entire family of souls. Home is where all of us belong. Heaven, as it is mentioned by all spiritual tradition, does not include all souls. Heaven is seen by all spiritual traditions as a reward of our good deeds now in this degraded and impure world. When the human beings are able to take good action and to raise above the vice, above the negativities that exist now in the world, then through that good awareness, good wellness, and being able to do good and to see good, through that action, the soul is getting a reward which is represented in the form of heaven. Souls that are taking now that action to become good and to see good will reap the fruit of their action in heaven. So, in contrast to heaven that includes, according to all spiritual schools, only a limited number of souls, home includes everyone. Home is a place where we all belong. All are included in the home. And home is a place of eternal peace. Home is a place where all souls are experiencing the highest and the purest peace of all. All souls are resting in comfort in the home. And home is a place where we feel we all belong in this eternal, supreme family of souls. Home is a place where God is residing forever. And this is another big contrast between home and heaven. God is in the home, but God is not in the heaven. As we have described, heaven is a place of reward for our good actions. God is forever pure. God is forever good, awake, able to see everyone and everything with clarity. God never needs to go from hell to heaven. God is as if in the eternal bliss. God is in the eternal peace and loving stage. He is not going from one world to another as human souls are doing. So God is eternally the resident of our home, but not of heaven. This now shows us how essential it is for us human beings to understand once again where is our home and to separate home from heaven. In all our confusion, we have placed heaven up there in the sky. We have placed God in heaven and many gods in heaven, and we have placed angels in heaven, and as well we have placed heaven both on earth and in the sky. There is such a big confusion. Let us understand and clarify the first main point about our home. Our home is a place where our awareness is of complete peace, of complete silence, of complete stillness. It is a place where all souls belong, where we all exist in the inclusive family of souls, with our supreme parent and mother, father and mother, which is God. In this supreme home, we realize our eternity. We realize that we are bodiless beings of light, spiritual light. And we realize that we are coming into the physical world. We are coming on the stage of this planet to experience being in a body, being associated with a body, using the physical senses. And that in itself is a place of heaven to start with. How do we experience being at home? As we mentioned, home is a place where our awareness is of being at complete peace. There are no thoughts about the physical world. We experience being bodiless. We are alive. We are eternal. We are belonging to a family and to God. We are supremely peaceful. We are aware of being in the highest consciousness. To go back home does not mean that we have to fly in the sky. It does not mean that we have to work hard and reach a certain place. Being in the home requires a leap of faith. It requires being able, even for a second, to let go of the materialistic attitude and vision, to let go of the identity of being a body. There is no other place like home, and there is no other way of getting back home, but only through this leap of faith. So let us have now 1 minute of complete understanding that we are this eternal, divine souls that are visiting the physical world. And by becoming detached, as if we are far, far, far away from this physical world, in this state of complete detachment, as if we are beyond the body, in this detachment we take a leap of faith. And we as if jump. The awareness makes a jump into another reality. Into a reality of light. Into home. We are here in silence. Thank you for listening. I hope you did make that leap of faith and you are able now to experience our home. Join us again tomorrow, same time, for continuation of what home is and how we can get there and what are the benefits of knowing our home. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful